Welcome to an episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know, my name's Chad. Take a dive on sports. Welcome to the NHL playoffs. That's right. The regular season ended on Friday night. Seeing Colorado beating Nashville toward the end of the third period with a beautiful goal. Those two fought hard back and forth throughout the entire game, but Colorado was able to win the division, and now the table is set. It's time for us to enjoy the feast. That's the NHL playoffs. I do apologize for the lack of videos I've had during this NHL season. I just don't know why it didn't happen. I mean, I did my preseason preview and did my report card right in the middle of the season on All-Star break. Definitely a few teams that have surpassed what I thought they would do. Some teams I thought would do a little bit better. Didn't quite live up to the hype just yet. So there's just some things floating out there that did kind of surprise me. Like, I didn't see Seattle in the playoffs this year. I thought they were just one more year away. The Devils were a complete shock. The demise of Pittsburgh and Washington. The historic standings of the Boston Bruins, setting the mark for the most wins and the most points for the season. A mark I think no one will be able to repeat. But before I dive into the playoffs and the preview and how I see how things kind of go play out, if you could just go ahead, hit that thumbs up for me, especially like the content and the videos that I provide you. Really helps please the YouTube guys. Really help promote this channel out. You also subscribe. I'll have you guys review my work, and I love you for doing that. I can always use more subscribers. Really help this channel out, and that helps me provide more time value for you. All right, let's just go ahead and get the elephant out of the way. The Boston Bruins, of course, won the President's Trophy. No surprise there with what they've done with this season. Does that mean they're going to lift the Stanley Cup? What do you guys think? In 2020, they won it, and they lost the second round. In 2014, they won it, lost in the second round. The last President's Trophy winner to win it and make it and win the championship was the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. They did the impossible, where they ended up taking the most wins and win the President's Trophy and lifting the Stanley Cup after beating the Flyers in 6 games. Yeah, not many teams that win the President's Trophy lift the cup. It's been pretty much a curse for anyone who has a President's Trophy to win it. So, what does that mean for everyone else? Well, not really much, because the Boston is just that dang good. So, let's go ahead and start off their process. You know, they won the Atlantic. They are top seed in the East. They got home ice throughout the playoffs. And in my preseason poll, I didn't have them make the playoffs because I thought they're older gentlemen on the ice would probably be the hamper to them. And I had question marks about the goaltending. Allmark has blown that out of the water. He has been phenomenal this year. Pasternak has come to his own and be the true leader. Maybe this is the year Taylor Hall gets his name on the cup. Spent those time in New Jersey, never lifted up, and New Jersey's now in the playoffs. So I don't know. It's just so many different weird stories floating out there. But let's go ahead and start with Boston, as they will play host to the Panthers that first round. Now, they have familiar with the Panthers. I played them a bunch of times in the regular season. But Boston is just a hard nut to crack. They've only lost 7 games at home. Only lost 10 games on the road. So it's definitely one of those hard teams to take out. I think Florida might shock them here and there because they definitely came up on their own. I had higher expectations for the Panthers at the beginning of the season because all the off-season moves that didn't gel right away, and then they came together right towards the end. So I do think Florida will have the ability to maybe sneak a game or two from Boston, but that's about it. I mean, this is going to be a part of a quick series. Probably will go Boston in 5. I would not be surprised to go 6, but this is going to be Boston series, and Boston probably should be able to easily take care of Florida. Then we got Toronto, Tampa Bay. These two square off once again. Seems to be a recurring theme, much like Pittsburgh, Washington used to be. And last year, Toronto had Tampa Bay on the brink of elimination and choked. It seems to be the MO for the Maple Leafs for many years now. As soon as they get in the playoffs, they're out in the first round. They can't seem to put what they have together on the ice. But they're pretty well balanced. They're pretty good at home. 27 wins at home, 23 on the road. So they're not an easy out. Tampa Bay doesn't do well on the road. They play great at home. I think this will go full 7, and I think this will be the year Toronto gets past the first round. I know I'm asking a lot in this aspect, but I think Toronto should be able to sneak past Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay's age might get in the way of them for a little bit, but they put a great. They're a great team. I mean, they're built correctly. I think they start scaling back some of the old timers, bringing some young talent, and they should be able to hopefully just replace them and just keep moving forward. I think Tampa Bay is going to be a phenomenal threat for years to come. Now we are to the Metropolitan Division, where the Carolina Hurricanes in the winning division. It makes no sense that it's the Metropolitan and the team that's in Raleigh, North Carolina, that's nowhere near the New York City Metroplex or vicinity right there between New York and Philly and Washington is in this division, but that's just me. But the Hurricanes ended up winning. Like I said, this was my preseason pick for the East in the Stanley Cups finals. I really think that this is a team that's built well. They have great team, great chemistry, and they just seem to do extremely good things. They have a great Ravens fan base back again after years of not doing well after winning the Cup. And they get the New York Islanders the first round. Now, the Islanders is one of these teams that I've had high aspirations for before, and they fell flat, so I didn't have a high marks for them this year. And they kind of have them sneaking around, sniffing the playoffs, not making it. They're in. In terms of this one, the Islanders is definitely one of these teams that does not play well away from Long Island. And that's going to hamper them quite a bit. They still have, they're great at defending their home ice, 25 wins at home. But Carolina is a very good team, almost equally balanced both home and away. So I look at them to do a lot better, and I do think it's going to be a tough series for the Hurricanes against the Isles. But I'm still going to take Carolina. I'm going to take them in 6. I think there's going to be just enough for them to take care of business. And then the other side of the Metropolitan, you have the Devils taking on the Rangers. The Devils is a surprise team this year. No one saw them coming this way. No one saw them coming. But here they are. They're still in the rebuild, but they just flourished this year. Over 290 goals total. I mean, they had this plus 65 goal differential. And they are just dangerous on the road. And they're spreading their wings and almost winning 30 of our games. I mean, it is shocking how well they have been away from Newark. And this could spell doom for the Rangers. And the Rangers spent a lot of equity at the trade deadline and ended up getting 2 superstars who have had experience in the Stanley Cup Finals. They pair well with Panarin, who also has been there. Patrick Kane from the Blackhawks, they got. And before then, Tarasenko from the Blues. And with the Rangers and Devils, I am going to go with the experienced team. I will take the Rangers knocking off the Devils. This is going to be a full 7 games. I mean, they're right there next to each other. Madison Square Garden, the Prudential Center in Newark. I mean, easy road trip between the two of pure hatred. And this is what you want in a good grudge match and the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think these two will provide that. And I think the Rangers will end up slipping ahead in 7. On the other side, out the West, the number 1 team out in the Western Conference, the Vegas Golden Knights are back on top of the conference. They've rebounded nicely, getting back to some good form. They're pretty even no matter where they're at, so they can defend the keep at T-Mobile, or they can go on the road. Doesn't really matter. They do extremely well. Now for them, they will get Winnipeg that first round. Winnipeg has definitely a very good team as well. They don't do very good on the road. They're pretty much 500. And for them, I don't see them having much of a chance with Vegas. I'd probably see this going to 5. But I think the Knights will have no issues taking care of Winnipeg. Then the other side of the Pacific, you have Edmonton and LA. And Edmonton was my pick to win the Cup in my preseason bowl. I think this is Draisaitl's and McDavid's year to have a good run for the Oilers, have the Oilers return to the Stanley Cup Finals, an aspect that have not seen done in quite a long time. And last time they were there, back in 2006, when they took on Carolina. And you got to think, I had that rematch for the 23 season with a little different result. So they're looking at trying to relive those glory days of, Gretzky and Messier, when Oil Country was the most dominant force in the National Hockey League. But LA is no easy task to take care of. Edmonton has a harder time at home for some reason than on the road. So this one's going to be definitely splitting homes. And the home series in the beginning is going to be 2-2. And I think it's going to be a 7-game series. Teams just battling back and forth, but I will give it to Edmonton in 7. Out in the Central, the Avs winning on Friday night to beat Nashville to get into this position to try to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Try to do what Tampa Bay just did. They'll get the surprise Seattle Kraken. Now, the Kraken I knew was going to be a good team. Them having 100 points this season, I didn't foresee that one coming. I thought they'll be in the mix for that last wild card and just miss out. So I thought they were close to being a playoff team, but didn't quite happen. They're trying to get out of that wild card position. They just couldn't win any games right down the stretch, and the Kings made sure that kept their distance from them. So they get the unfortunate draw of getting Colorado in that first round. For Seattle, they do better away from Client Pledge Arena, winning 26 games compared to 20. And Colorado is the exact same way. They do better away from the high altitude, winning 29 games on the road, but only 22 at home. So it's whoever can capitalize on winning on the opponent's eyes, and it's going to be one of these series that will go back and forth. It's going to be physical. I think it's going to be a little more things going Colorado's way than Seattle's. Then we have Dallas taking on Minnesota. There's a lot of hatred here between these two clubs because the Stars used to play in Minnesota back in the day before moving down south. Or they changed their name first, then moved down south. So there's a lot of animosity between these two, and Minnesota's a little bit better at home. Dallas a little bit better on the road. You'll think those two will kind of cancel out. I think overall these two teams are pretty evenly matched. It's just Dallas has a little bit more firepower. They're plus 67 compared to Minnesota's plus 21. Dallas is running on a 6-game win streak heading into the series. Minnesota's lost the last 2. Minnesota really had nothing else to play for once Dallas clinched that home ice. They're just like, okay, we'll just kind of rest everyone and kind of go from there. And it's really interesting to kind of see how this one plays out. I think this will be a 7-game series, and I am going back and forth between the two, but I think I will take Dallas in this aspect to edge out Minnesota in the same 7-game series. Now let's head into that second round. Out there in the East, you have Boston and Toronto. To the original 6 going at it. Two franchises that really despise each other. much like Boston and Montreal is the bigger threat between the two. But since Toronto moved to the east after all the expansions and relocations, they developed a nice little love-hate relationship. Once again, there's just too much Boston. I think the Bruins are just going to be too much to handle for anyone in the series in these playoffs. I think they'll be able to get past Toronto in 6. I don't see an issue with that one. In the Met, you have Carolina taking on the Rangers. Another good matchup between these two. I just think Carolina's going to be doing just a little bit better. They'll find ways to really stifle the Rangers, but the Rangers will just not go away. They're a very, very well-built team. They're very physical. Because if you start to take away Panarin and Kane and all the other key Rangers, maybe Tarasenko starts lighting it up. So you have some things you have to worry about. The goaltending is going to be a huge factor between these two teams. I think this one will go 7. I will stick with my preseason pick and go Carolina. It's going to be physical and it's going to be difficult. Out there in Pacific, you have the Vegas taking on Edmonton. Two teams are, I think, bound to face each other. No question about that. And the way Edmonton's been playing lately, winners in the last 9 and going through a hard-fought series with the Kings, Vegas be well rested, dispatching the Jets in quick fashion. But it's just something about Connor McDavid that I think he's going to make a great run this year. I think this is his year to make a name for himself. Everyone else already pretty much knows him. But he's a human highlight reel doing moves on goalies that shouldn't be allowed. And Draisaitl is just a great partner for him to really pick apart any team. And I think they'll struggle against Vegas. There's no question about that one. But I still have Edmonton taking them out. I think it probably will be a 7-game series in this one as well. But I have to give it to the Oilers. And Central with the Avs and Stars, two teams that used to have huge rivalries back, I think, the late 90s. When the Avs, Stars, and Red Wings were like the big 3 in the Western Conference. They were always battling each other in the playoffs and find out who's going to go to the Stanley Cup and win it. So seeing these two in this position takes me back at least to that time frame. And I think the Avs are going to be just a little too much, but once again, it's going to be a hard-fought series between these two. Dallas is a more offensive powerhouse, and I can see them get the edge and be like up 3-2, and thinking they can close out the Avalanche, and somehow the Avalanche pulls it out or at the end and ends up winning in 7 to try to get their footprint in there and going back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. So let's go with the West. Colorado, Edmonton going at it. Like I said, Edmonton was my preseason pick to win it all, and I'm going to stick with them in this aspect. I think the long series and dealing with powerhouse offenses will finally catch up to them because they'll get another potent offense in Edmonton. This time I think Edmonton's going to get to that point where they have Colorado on the edge, and they'll finally stop the flow, and they'll take the Avs in 6 and make sure the Oilers get back to the Stanley Cup finals. And out east is Boston and Carolina. These are two great franchises right now. They're pretty much sitting on top. Carolina's going to get Boston a scare. I really think that. I think Boston kind of has some earlier games and a kind of issue, 5-game series, 6-game series. This one will go 7. Carolina would push them back. But I think he's going to be too much Boston, too much Pastrnak, too much Marchand. There's just too many players on that Bruins team to really try to alleviate any true threat. Because if you take away one, someone else scores. They got the whole next man up routine to the T. I think Boston would take Carolina in 7 and have a matchup between the Bruins and the Canadiens. And this was a matchup back in the late 80s, early 90s, 88 and 90. These two squared off when Edmonton had that huge run of Stanley Cup appearances from 83 to 90, when they make it all of them except for one, end up winning 5 Stanley Cups. I mean, that's just phenomenal how that franchise ended up doing it. Boston was there a couple of times trying to stop them, was unsuccessful, getting swept in 88 and losing 5 in 90. So some of these years weren't even close. But this will be a different aspect. There's just too much on Boston right now. I think Boston is going to break that President's Trophy curse this year. They're just too dominant. Now, are they too big, or so big that they're just bound to fail? Yeah, possibly. You can look at the Patriots when they went undefeated and took on the Giants, and the Giants beat them. I mean, that's possible. They can be too much of themselves and just get in their own way. The ego trips them up, and Edmonton's one of these teams that you cannot give them an inch because they will take the mile, or in their case, the meter. You can't give them a centimeter because they'll take the meter. And I think Edmonton will also push Boston on the brink. But these are two powerhouse offenses. Boston, I think, has the better goaltending, but they have be hard, like I said, to corner Connor McDavid because you have Draisaitl that can pick up the pace. Boston is always the next man up. You never know who's going to score, even though if you take away Pastrnak, there's still other players that can put the puck behind the net. I'll say this series will also go 7. Even though my preseason I had Edmonton over Carolina in the Stanley Cup Finals. This year, like I said, I think Boston's going to break the President's Trophy curse. They're going to win it all in 7 games. And this might be the last you see of some of the Boston players after this series. But this is kind of like the last hurrah. This is get back to their 7th Stanley Cup championship, the first since 2011. They made 2 other trips and then just fell short against Chicago and St. Louis. And they always got themselves in trouble in other playoff series, but they always seem to be there. But I think this is the year they do it. And I think Pastrnak will be the Conn Smythe winner as well. This is just going to be a historic season for the Boston Bruins. And I just, much like when the Bulls ended up going 72-10 and winning the championship, that's what you're going to see. Even though Golden State has a record of something 1-9, but they didn't win it. When the Patriots went into the Super Bowl undefeated and didn't win it, Boston does not want to fall into that trap. Those franchises that were just had great teams but just stumbled right at the end. They want to finish strong. Their team is built that way. Edmonton was test them. But I think Boston going to be too much and win in 7. Well, there you go. That's my NHL playoff prediction video. We'll see how bad I do with these. It's really kind of hard to tell how some teams will kind of react. Some teams show up, and some teams don't. That's the problem. That's the thing with the playoffs, and with it being a best of 7. You never know how many bad days in a row you're going to get. This is the year that Toronto finally, breaks their first round loss. This is the year the President's Trophy curse is lifted. Could Edmonton return to glory? Just let me know down below what you think. Do you think Boston is the shoe-in, or are you taking the field? Once you're down there, you can also hit that thumbs up once again. You can also share this video with friends and family. Once you subscribe, make sure you click that bell icon, turn on notifications, so next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.